And welcome back to the third and final part of the Weekend Wallow Star Wars special. I am joined again by Keegan from Level 2 Gaming.
What's up, guys?
And also SmackersGamer. I hope they go back and look at how Luke attempted to build the Jedi back to being, you know, that type of thing, and he was training that new batch of young Jedi or whatever before Kylo destroyed it. That'd be
pulled an Anakin.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see.
Like grandfather, like grandson.
What that is and what they do with that.
Problem I have if you stay with where we're at now is, what are your two forces? You have the First Order and you have the Resistance, which I'm always call the Rebellion still. Well, that to me tells me that the First Order is in charge right now. That's the way it is. In the old movies, the Empire was in charge. And then why did Luke's one action destroy the whole thing? I get you killed the Emperor and Vader died, but theoretically any good political system has somebody who can then step up to the next level. That's why I think Snoke is involved in all that. And I think he might have been somebody Palpatine knew as like a right-hand man, or again, the Darth Plagueis theory. Yeah. And he's going, hey, who can I bring up to continue this, but make sure this doesn't happen again? Like you said, try to make the First Order stronger, better than the Empire was. Any good political system has some sort of, like, who's next, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
That's if they do it right, but who knows Star Wars politics? I don't know Star Wars politics very well.
Even though we got, like, a huge chunk of it thrown at us in the news.
Yeah. Rebel trade, Federalists, Separatists.
I always wanted to know about the Senate and all that crap.
Yeah.
That was so hard to keep track of stuff in the prequels. It's like, okay, now the bad guys from the original trilogy are the good guys, kind of. Then they're the bad guys, but the bad guys are branching off from the good guys. And then now there's the rebels, and what's going on?
And the bad guys don't like the bad guys, and the good guys don't like the bad guys. And you're like, what the hell? Did you get this figured out?
I know. It was like, originally, like, Obi-Wan had control of the stormtroopers and stuff like that. It was just so, like,
yeah,
what's going on?
It'll be interesting to see what they do, because what I think Star Wars is going to run into, and they started doing it kind of, and especially if your theory is true about Skywalker lineage, is you're just going to keep repeating the story over and over and over, which will make Disney money, but at some point, like I said, I think fans will get tired of that. At some point, they're going to say, okay, enough. Like, just make a whole new character. You have to remember, technically in the Star Wars universe, the story we're being told is tiny compared to this whole giant thing. So if Disney, for whatever reason, said, hey, after episode 9, we're done with this section of the universe, we're actually going to move over to here, I think some people would be upset just because you get attached to those characters. I'm going to use the example of Apple doing Final Cut 7 and making Final Cut 10. People were pissed off because Final Cut 7 was a good platform and it supported stuff real well and you loved it, and then 10 came along and had to start from the bottom and work your way up. But in the long run, it makes more sense because it gives you a little more freedom with what you can do story-wise in Star Wars. That's easier.
Yeah, it pretty much gives you like a clean sheet to work with.
Like, I would love it every so often where, like, maybe a character made a cameo. So say in episode 10, I'm going to predict Rey makes it all the way through this trilogy and makes it episode 10. That's weird to say, by the way, episode 10. But in episode 10, I would love to see her maybe make a cameo and kind of like visit from a planet, and you're like, oh, hey, I know that character, but not have a big story plot in that new movie and say, hey, this is these people's story, but hey, remember that character? And we know you love them. They're still here. We might see them every so often, but they're not a major factor in this.
That is if they make an episode 10.
That's true. Star Wars says they're making a movie every year for the next however many years.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many years that was, but
I think it's up until 2020 when the Boba Fett spin-off comes out. Because 2019 will be episode 9, and then the Boba Fett one, and then that's all they've said.
So here is... Let me see if I find it.
Oh yeah, just while you find that, I was going to say about the Snoke thing. There's a new rumor going around, this is a weird one, that he is Darth Sidious's son.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're just saying that because of his face being weird, but that wouldn't be passed down.
Yeah. Well, the only reason Darth Sidious looks like that is because of the lightning coming back at him.
Yeah, and that wouldn't get passed down biologically to his son. So I think that's a load of rubbish, but I think it's quite an interesting theory because you actually made me think of this before when you said there's bound to be like someone else that Palpatine trusted who could have been like second in command. What about if he had his own son, because he was quite an old guy?
You know who it is? I'm calling it now. It's Jar Jar Binks.
Oh god.
There was a thing I saw before I even saw the movie that implied that Jar Jar Binks was Kylo Ren. taking revenge for Anakin, and that's why he had the
Misa, kill you!
He had the Vader,
That's Miss Annie.
Vader helmet and stuff. Oh man.
I want to know. So what I want to know though is how did Kylo Ren get Vader's helmet? That's the other thing that's got me, because remember they burned Vader on the fire, which makes sense why his helmet's melted. But did Han take it? Did Luke take it? Like, is it? I don't say souvenir because that's not the right word, but did they take it to kind of remember? Because I don't think Luke would take the helmet because that's not his father to him. That's Vader. So it makes sense why Kylo has it. But how? Because I don't. Unless he went back to Endor and it was still chilling there, and no Ewoks took it.
Well, yeah, that could be. I think him or someone else from the remains of the Empire or the start of the First Order would have gone to get that as a relic. Kind of like a almost religious thing.
Yeah.
There's such a powerful leader in their past.
It's like the Shroud.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Kylo sees Darth Vader as like this all-powerful kind of character. Yeah. So it's possible, but they must have done it pretty quickly because, for one, the helmet wasn't that damaged.
Yeah, that was like I said, if it truly was on fire like it was, and I get that it's partially melted, but like, how is the whole thing just not gone? J.J. Abrams, give us answers. But like the only theory I can think of along the line of like what Josh had there was the fact that a sympathizer came in. Maybe that's how Snoke kind of got Kylo and said, "Hey, you remember this guy? Do you want to be as powerful as what Vader was?" And the only reason Vader failed is because he let the light in him, and that's why he failed. Kind of like what Palpatine said to Anakin. If you choose the dark side, you'll be more powerful than you ever imagined.
And that would explain why Kylo's like fighting back the light as well, because he knows that his grandfather gave into it and he doesn't want to be like that, but he wants to be like Darth Vader was when he was at his prime.
Yeah, when he
pretty much
had his power. How many years is it between episode 3 and episode 6? Because Vader got real old real quick. Because technically Anakin, when he gets fried, is like probably in his 20s. It looks like a real old fart when they take off the helmet in episode 6.
Apparently between episode 3 and 4 there's 19 years.
Okay, that makes more sense then. Okay.
Yeah, and then episode 4 and 5 apparently is 3 years, and then episode 5 and 6 is only 1. So that'd be a total of math. 20, 21, 22, 23 years.
23 plus Anakin being in his 20s, I'm predicting. So that makes sense then. Okay, he's not as old of a fart as I thought he was.
Yeah. But it's just, the condition he was in. And having to be in the helmet and stuff like that probably took its toll,
That's true. Yeah. That's why he lost all of his hair.
Oh yeah, wasn't anything to do with the fire or anything.
Nope, it's because I've always been told if I always wear a hat, I'm going to lose my hair. Well, if you wear a helmet, you're going to lose your hair as well.
Yeah,
helmet. That's how that works. But I don't know. It's quite interesting to see. Like I said, I think this movie set up real well. The next, which is what a good movie should do theoretically in a series, but it sucks at the same time because you want the answers. But it set up real well what's going to happen, and I think that next movie we're going to get a lot of the answers we didn't have this movie, but we're also going to have a lot more questions than we had in this movie, because this movie was getting the nostalgia feel, and like Sam said, I think next movie will be a lot more new stuff, and you'll be like, well, I didn't see that one coming. That came out of left field. The real question is, how do you beat I Am Your Father? Because that's what they're up against right now.
Yeah. Oh god, it'd probably be Luke saying to Rey, won't it? I am your father. It'd just be the same thing again.
Well, I hope, like you were kind of saying, that in the future movies, they kind of do more with the new characters. Because I think this one had a really good balance of old characters to have that nostalgia and tying it to this new movie. These new characters. And I think that's part of killing off Han Solo, everybody's favorite from the old ones for a lot of it. They killed him off as kind of a way to make, okay, now here's this Rey. Now you have to focus more on her because Han Solo is out of the picture, kind of thing, and she's almost literally taking his place.
What if Rey is not the main character in this whole story? Like, what if she's the main character in this movie, but she's just a small character in this whole story overall? What if it's Snoke? What if it's Finn?
I could see it being Finn.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie was when they get attacked when they're on the base, and that first trooper attacks him and he goes, "Traitor."
Yeah.
Like with the guy when he pulls out the staff. That's one of my favorite scenes because that shows that, he remembers you. He recognizes your face. He knows him outside that helmet.
Yeah.
And I think Finn has a more interesting story with the First Order than the other ones do.
I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, he was just like a low-level guy or whatever, but really, even sanitation in a base of that size would have been, I think, more like an engineering role, maybe, and obviously was a trained soldier because he went out to battle and stuff. He seemed like the guy that died next to him that put his hand up and had the blood on his mask. That seemed more like, this is someone I know dying, not this is just someone dying next to me.
Well, I can't remember who it was, if it was officially Disney, but there's been like a short thing stated about FN 2187 or whatever Finn's number was.
Yeah.
He was in a team of other FNs, apparently, and the one who put his hand on Finn's helmet with the blood, apparently that was someone that Finn had trained with for a while, and so was the one with the staff, who was like, traitor! Like, they obviously knew each other, they trained together, they were friends. They knew how each other's fighting styles, what they fought like, and that's how they were able to like fight each other quite well. I mean, that's just what I've heard, and it does seem like a valid possible theory there.
That actually makes a lot of sense. That's pretty cool.
Sam, stop making sense.
Yeah, knock it off.
How dare you?
Hey, I'm just saying what other people said. It's not my theory, honestly.
I can't wait to see what the next few have in store, and I'm excited for this series again. I own all 6 on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray. I've already pre-ordered Force Awakens on iTunes, and I'm also going to buy the Blu-ray of it probably because I love it and I want it. So I'm very excited. I'm kind of scared at the same time though, because J.J. Abrams is not directing the next one.
Yeah.
But as long as they keep the formula he started, it's kind of like, I'm going to use the Harry Potter series as an example. So the first 2 Harry Potter movies were done by Chris Columbus, this is the only reason I watched Harry Potter was because of him. I loved Chris Columbus. But he set up the world, and then from there, Alfonso, whatever his name was, I can never say his last name, took it in the 3rd movie and made it darker, and then from there, they kept that dark feeling of, hey, continue this. And I hope they do the same thing with the Star Wars, is J.J. Abrams set up this world beautifully. He has set it up so they can change it if they want to as they go along, which is why I don't think he gave too much backstory. So they can change things to fit storylines if they have to, because Kathleen Kennedy's come out and said that episode 8 and 9 technically scripts are not 100% finished. Like, they're written, but that doesn't mean they're done. Like, they can be changed still.
Yeah.
So Abrams set up this world beautifully, and I hope, what's his name, Rian Johnson? I don't know. Can't remember who the next director is. I hope he takes it and runs with it, and I hope he doesn't change it too much. And I hope practical effects is still a thing. Do not CG anything, please, except stuff you need to CG. There was an interview with, I think it was Adam Driver, where he was interviewed by somebody, and they go, so when did you realize you're in a Star Wars movie? He goes, not when I got cast, partially when I got my costume fitted. And he goes, but the real time was when I walked into a hangar and saw a TIE fighter. That's got to be so cool because it's real. Like, he can physically see that. And he's like, he tried to put the fandom aside, but he's like, I was freaking out when that happened. Couldn't imagine walking in and be like, oh, there's a TIE fighter. Oh, it's Millennium Falcon.
That would be so cool. And just knowing that you're in a Star Wars film in general.
It's also probably a lot of pressure, though. You don't want to be the one that blows it.
Yeah, I guess. But to be fair, you'd have to like have a lot of faith in the director that he would do a lot of takes until he knew it was perfect.
It's funny with like the Jar Jar Binks character. On set, they all loved it initially. And a lot of the initial reaction from, if you watch interviews from when that movie first came out, a lot of people were like, Jar Jar Binks was cool. He was a little weird, but cool. And then I think once the internet got a hold of it, it kind of went a little crazy. I don't think Jar Jar Binks is that bad of a character as he gets for, but I don't think he's a good character.
I wouldn't mind him.
I wouldn't say I like him. Careful word choice.
Yeah.
I don't think he is that bad that I wouldn't watch the movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, Phantom Menace was I think it was actually my very first Star Wars film.
So young.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I feel like I watched the originals first, but Star Wars Episode 1 was, I guess, the first current kind of generation film that I saw in the Star Wars universe. Like, I saw that before Episode 2 came out and Episode 3, etc. And I guess it was like introduction to what Star Wars is now. And I felt like the original trilogy I watched as a kid, but I didn't like as much. But then when I watched Episode 1, it was like, oh my god, CGI, epic lightsaber battles. And then I went back and watched the originals and I started to appreciate them a bit more. I feel like that's what happened, but I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, I watched Phantom Menace as a kid and I could really appreciate it at that age. And that's kind of carried over to my adulthood. I really do appreciate that movie, even though it's not what we knew Star Wars to be.
Yeah.
They tried to do different things and I respect that.
Pod racing is badass.
Yeah, I really like that.
That N64 game I've played for many hours.
And obviously the final battle in Naboo was epic and probably the one and only lightsaber battle I would call the best out of the whole series.
Yeah, I will say I didn't like the lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo because it felt like they're both untrained, which is what it's supposed to feel like. But the way Rey was holding her lightsaber is real weird. She held it.
I noticed something in that actually. It's probably nothing. She was holding it like that and then just stabbing.
She was stabbing him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that is what Darth Sidious fought like against Mace Windu in Episode 3. He's the Dark Lord of the Sith, but he was doing a lot of stabbing, jabbing motions. And that makes me wonder about if Rey's memory was erased and she was like a Force user before. It makes me wonder like if she was originally being trained by Sidious or someone like that.
She's Palpatine's kid.
Yeah, I mean, imagine.
Let's just go on the family tree like Star Wars always does.
Well, no, that could be a possibility.
I noticed immediately when I was watching it that she holds it. Like, Finn I expected to hold funny just because he didn't know what the hell was going on, and he's a trooper. But she had proven that she had the ability with the Force, and it just was weird. Like, at times it distracted me. I was more focused on that than actually the fight scene sometimes. And then that stupid big crevice that showed up in the middle of the two of them.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, movie.
Yeah, it's just getting good.
Well, it could be, too, the way that her fight style and preferred weapon was very different from the lightsaber, which is more like a sword, and where she was used to using a staff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that could
true.
have something to do with it as well. She was a fighter and a good fighter, but getting used to a new weapon, you're going to occasionally throw it out in ways that
Or
maybe
familiar.
someone that's wouldn't be trained with it would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would never think to, because there might be a lot of like fencing. I would never like think to stab. I guess you'd stab with a sword, but like swinging a sword, stabbing makes more sense because it's harder to block, I guess. But
Yeah, I suppose.
the way she did it was real. Like she would wind up and like thrust and like not in the good way
Yeah.
either.
It's not a good defense fighting style, but it does remind me a lot of Palpatine. And now I don't know if that's just a coincidence, like if they were
Could
taking
be.
from the old sort of fights,
Yeah.
or if she could actually be related.
Whether that was an intentional or unintentional. I mean, I've always wondered like when they do these movies, like how much of the stuff we speculate on they actually meant to do.
Yeah.
like how much of it is just them like filming like, yeah, that looked good. I mean, we all film videos here, but like when we shoot something and we'll do something unintentional, a lot of the times we don't think about it until somebody points it out to us. And you're like, oh yeah, we did do that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. But I wonder how much of that, like, because obviously some of it's pre-planned with story and all that and the visual style, but I need to call J.J. Abrams. Let me get on the phone real quick. We'll get him in on this chat here. Be like, Mr. Abrams, did you mean to do this? I wish I had JJ's number. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What I want to know as well is because when this film was like announced and they were like giving little bits and bobs of the plot, I'm sure the official word of it was there was going to be someone coming from it over from the dark to the light, and then someone going from the light to the dark. Maybe not the Force, but in terms of like faction.
Yeah.
But obviously Finn went from the evil faction to the good faction. Now that's the dark to the light.
I think I know where you're going, but don't say it. You'll break my
Wait.
heart. I could see Rey going over to the dark. There's a really cool drawing, a fan art drawing of Rey going to the dark side, and it was real cool looking.
Oh, I've seen that.
Like,
No,
I
well-
don't want that to happen, but at the same time, like, it would be cool, because
Yeah.
Rey's always going to be a cool character, in my opinion, and if she goes to the dark side, I'm following her over there. She literally is the background on my phone right now. And Kylo Ren is actually the background on, like, my lock screen is Rey, my background is Kylo Ren, which is how much I love this movie, which is crazy. This is the first Star Wars movie I saw in theater, and Sam, did you go on day one? Like the
I saw-
premiere night?
Not the premiere night, no. That was 1 minute past midnight, but I went
Yeah.
the day after.
You went,
which was,
okay.
Yeah, so pretty much.
What about you, Josh? When did you see it?
I think it was the first weekend, but
See, I waited. So my brother, it was because it came right around Christmas time. My brother was coming in town for Christmas, so we said we'd see it together on Christmas Eve. So I had to wait till that point to go see it. I don't live with my family anymore, so I see him very rarely. But sitting there with my brother, and my brother's 15, I'm 24. So there's a little bit of an age gap. And he's not a big Star Wars fan. He just thought it'd be a cool movie to go see. And I think partially because hype, he wanted to see it. But it was funny because, like, I'll be sitting there, and, like, when the crawl starts up on the screen, this is my first Star Wars movie in theater, I go, he's like, shut up! I was like, sorry, I'm excited! And then, like, when the Millennium Falcon scene happened, I go, no! He goes, shut it! And it just kept hitting me. I was like, sorry, Caden! And then when Han Solo showed up was the other time I was like, he's back! And then he just gave me the dirtiest look, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just so, like, I don't remember being that excited about a movie in the theater in a long time.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, because, like, I've gone to movies that are fun. Like, I've seen Thor in theater, I've seen a lot of animated cartoons in theater, but, like, I never get that excited about a movie. And, like, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time because I think part of it, again, is the hype, the anticipation for it, but it was really well done. And like, it was really hard to predict what was going to happen, which is good, which is what a movie should. I mean, obviously, yeah, you have it followed the story arc similarly to episode 4, but you also didn't know what was going on at the same time. So I was legitimately excited when I saw that thing in theaters. I got chills just now thinking about it.
I personally thought a lot of it was predictable, to be honest. Like, I see what you mean with quite a bit of it wasn't predictable. But as soon as Han Solo saw Kylo Ren go out onto that bridge, I knew exactly what was going to happen. Like, and I was not wrong. I knew he was going to try and get Kylo Ren to go back with him, and Kylo Ren would kill him. I just knew that would happen. And it didn't surprise me when it did, because I already thought that. And there was a theory a while ago, before the film even came out, that Han Solo would die.
Yeah, like I said, I had that spoiled for me. I knew kind of going into it what I was getting into. Because usually with something like that spoiled for you, like, I don't want to see the movie now. But even with that happening, like, this just kind of shows the atmosphere of Star Wars and how good it is. Because, like, even with that, I was like, I'm still excited, still enjoyed the movie. Like I said, personally, I want to know more about Rey. And Daisy Ridley nailed that character, like, in my opinion. It was real cool. Yeah. The characters in this film were really well written for the most part. I didn't like what they did with Phasma, but I think what happened to Phasma was she was cut down on the cutting room floor. I think that's what happened. I think they had time issues and they had to cut somewhere, and they decided to cut Phasma.
Yeah. Well, also, I think that she could still be a reoccurring character.
Oh, I don't think she's dead. So we were talking about people dying. She went in the trash compactor, but is she dead? Because you didn't actually see it.
Did they actually throw her in the trash compactor, or did they just joke about throwing her in the trash compactor?
We will never know, because it was never on camera. So you will never know.
That was just like setting up Han Solo to say, well, did they have a trash compactor? Wink, wink, haha.
That was the joke of the movie. They were setting that up the whole movie. That's actually the biggest plot point of the movie, so they could have that joke. Number 1 point. Could we have a trash compactor joke? Cool. Let's make sure everybody knows about it. Oh, like I said, this movie is one of the few I got really duper excited for. That's a lot of super excited. So.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, a lot of fun, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't have much bad to say about it. If I was to break down my criticisms is A, how much it followed the plot of episode 4, which a lot of people have said. B, how it ended with the Luke on an island. I don't like how abruptly that ended. But that would basically, like, those would be my major points that I didn't like. There was one scene when the Millennium Falcon lands, and you could tell it's a real Millennium Falcon and not CG, so I love that. Get smoke coming out of it. Oh, so cool. But, I mean, those are my two major gripes with it. And if those are my gripes, it's nothing movie breaking.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish I'd known a little bit more about Snoke, but I think that was intentional. Otherwise, it would be a 5-hour long movie.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of like Thanos when Marvel first introduced Thanos. And then again in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's in it more, but he's not really in it.
Yeah. You know he's a major part, and he's higher than Ronan, but you don't know what his role is exactly. Well, in episode 5 of Star Wars, when they showed Emperor Palpatine, they showed him for the first time. He was only in it for like a couple of minutes, and you didn't know anything about him. I think that's what they were trying to sort of like emulate.
I don't like that they did the hologram thing again, though. I wish it was something different. Because again, there's another callback. I think I had more to the issue with the hologram being 15 feet tall than anything else. Yeah. I think that was... Yeah.
Well, that
reminds me of like when you have a projector screen and you just pull it back and everything just gets bigger. You're like, what the hell? I don't need that big.
To me, though, that seems like a power thing. Like,
oh yeah, I mean,
I'm bigger than you.
Well, I think it shows the power of Snoke, and it also think it shows how inferior both Hux and Kylo are. So I think that's what that was. I don't know. So
all right, that's what we've got for today. Thank you guys both for joining me.
Thanks for having us. I feel like we went on a lot of tangents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tangents are good because they're fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just adds to the discussion.
Oh yeah.
Wow. As always, thank you for stopping by, and may the Force be with you.